So last week I couldn't take the session last week. So we were discussing about the central bank independent transparency and accountability, and this is going to be the last session of this course unit on central banking. And I think better I share the course outline with you first, and when we can see what we have done so far. Hold on, I will share that. Okay, here it is. So that this is the course outline. This is from the first our first slide presentation. So these are the topics that we have discussed so far. So we have almost covered the areas except the last topic on contemporary development and issues relating to central banking, which is I purposely leave to discuss in the revision session, because we have to discuss about almost all the updated policies and issues, not only relating to the domestic economy, but also that we have to look into the other international aspects as well. And also we have to give more emphasis on the recent policy measures or the actions taken by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka relating to this pandemic issues. And also, you know, that what are the key the topics or the issues that we have, especially relating to the external sector, where that we are having a issue relating to the foreign exchange, and also that we know that there is a external debt issue is also there. So likewise that we have to give more emphasis on those areas, and accordingly that we have to discuss what are the policy measures that have been taken by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. And also at the same time we will look into the other central bank as well, especially what are the measures that they have taken to support their economies which were hit by the health pandemic as well. So that I'm going to leave it to discuss during the revision sessions, because we are going to have some 3 sessions for the revisions. So that the last topic here that you can see that this is one of the key area that we have to discuss. And today that I'm going back to the topic for the day. And also that one thing that I have to mention, I shared all the latest presentations with the IBSL, so that they inform me that they uploaded in the student portal, so that you can see all the new or the latest versions of the presentations. I'm so sorry that sometimes that I have to update it, the materials considering the current developments. So that especially I think that I substantially changed the slides on the monetary policy and also the central bank balance sheet. And there are some other presentations that have amended this time. So now the IBSL have uploaded everything, so that you can go and please carefully find the new materials, and you can follow those new materials in preparing for the exams. Okay, so that let's go to, and the other thing is that since this is our last topic, and there is only few slides that we have to discuss, hopefully we can complete the session within 1 hour. But if you have any questions to ask, that you can ask, so that I can stay for 2 hours time. But the topic or the content for the session for the day is very short. Okay, so let's see the way it goes. Okay, so that again I'm here. So I do that. Can you all see the slide presentation? on central bank independence, transparency, and accountability. Hope that you all can see.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so let's go and start the discussion. So here we go. So that we discussed first about the historical evaluation of the central bank independence. I hope you remember the very first topic of this lecture series was on the historical evaluation of the central banks. So here in this session that we discussed again how the central bank independence have been evolved time to time given the different type of issues or the crisis situation that most of the central banks around the world that they have to change their mandate or that operational frameworks to meet the recurrent issues or the crisis. So likewise that we can see that the role of the central banks have been evolved as at the same time that level of independence have also been changed. Sometimes some can argue that it is for the good, or sometimes we can see some people criticize that it is for the bad. So anyhow, that this is actually a very critical topic in the history as well, that we can see time to time. We can see there are many articles available in the websites that how people criticize the independence of the central bank. Some said that it should be fully independent, but some said that it is not good to be fully independent. Uh, Actually, at that time, when the central bank are going to be more independent, in that case, that the central bank should give more focus on the credibility, accountability, transparency, and all, right? So that you can understand why it should be when there is a full autonomy or the freedom to do whatever they want to do. That definitely there should be that transparency, accountability, and credibility, or otherwise that the how much it is important the role of the central bank uh, in overall economic performance of an economy. So that's why, uh, for some extent, that independence should be there. But if it is not going to be credible, transparent, so there can be problems. So that's why this topic is not only on the independence, but also about the transparency and accountability as well, and also the credibility, right? So that's how these characteristics are really really important for a central bank to meet all the responsibilities have been given to them. Okay, so that we discussed all these slides, that when it comes to independence, that we saw there are different type of independence are there. So here actually this is the overall or the overall picture that we can see, uh, that different people or the different economies that they have identified the independence in different aspects. So this is actually the very common way, very common way that many people have described the independence as goal independence, instrumental independence, sometimes that they discuss about the operational independence or the legal independence, like that. So we discuss all those aspects or the different type of independence refer to this the overall independence of the bank. So that here that I'm not going to describe everything again, but I'm just summarize, because that last week that we couldn't conduct the session, so I'm not sure whether you remember everything. So we are going to continue from the middle of the session. That's why I just wanted to summarize so that you can understand that what is the goal independence and the instrumental independence. And when it comes to the legal independence, that one of the key feature is to have a separate charter for the central banks. In case of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, it is the Monetary Law Act. Likewise, that at the time that we discussed about the key or the leading central banks around the world also, that we saw that all the central banks that they have established under a special charter or a legal act or something, so that there is a separate legally accepted document is there with all necessary terms and conditions stipulated clearly for them to operate accordingly. Okay, so when it comes to the legal aspects, that we can see the level, we can consider or evaluate the level of independence based on the way how the leader or the governor or the chairman of the central bank has been appointed by whom. When if the prime minister or the president of a country is appointed the governor or the leader or the chair of the board of the central bank, that we can see that there can be some political pressures on the overall working environment of the central bank. It is one aspect. Okay, and the other thing is the way that they are going to make key policy measures, especially with respect to the monetary policies. So how these decisions are going to be taken at the approval level actually. So whether it is totally independent from the government involvement, or whether there are some representatives of governments are there in the decision making body. So likewise, that at the time that we discuss about the different type of central bank also, we saw that the monetary policy committees and all, and they are the composition of who are the people involved, who are the positions, so that the representatives involved in those decision making process. So likewise, now you have the information, so you can evaluate the level of independence accordingly. Okay, so that which means that you need to have overall idea. And the other thing is that the third point here, I think the central bank is more independent if its charter status that price stability is the sole or primary goal of the monetary policy. So that it is the other thing. So that in our case, that in Sri Lanka, that we can see the prime responsibility or the goal of the monetary policy is the price of stability. But sometimes some countries that beyond price stability, that they may have given some other the level of employment and all, so that we can see that in that case, that we can see that level of employment is not basically uh, determined by only the monetary policies. There are some other key factors are there beyond the control of the central bank. Likewise, that we can see the difference, okay, of the roles given to the central bank as well. And the other thing is that the sometimes that legal independence is determined by the way of the central banks are going to give advances to the government, right? Fund advances to the government, or the way that government ability to borrow from the central bank. So in the case of Sri Lanka, I think under the topic the central bank balance sheets, that I think in a slide that it has mentioned that what is the maximum level of advances that the central bank can allow to the government. It should be subject to the maximum of 10% of the estimated revenue of the government. Up to that level only the Sri Lankan government can have advances from the central bank, and that it is stipulated there in the Monetary Law Act. And also the other thing is that that it clearly mentioned that central bank should not transfer all the profits to the government. Likewise, that in terms of the independence, that we can see there are special terms or the conditions are specified in the relevant mandates or the charters of the central bank. So likewise, that they can guarantee on the level of independence of the central banks. Okay, so this slide is really important, and I think that core of the topic is here. it clearly specified why it is important to have that independence for the central banks, why it is important to an economy. Okay, so that I think that it is the fifth point, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's you better understand the fifth point here, the fifth bullet points. It's clearly mentioned why that central bank should be independent. So if that independence is not there, what can be happen? Okay, so the central banks, so I'm going to summarize that again. That central bank regularly committed to maintain low inflation in the longer term. Okay, if such a promise is viewed as credible by the public. So here I think that overall the overall idea is there. Okay, but I think that the latter slides also that emphasize on the same thing when we are going to discuss about the transparency, credibility, and all. Here again, those characteristics are again linked with this the 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 point why it is important. Okay, so that okay, I think better we come to this point later after we discuss the other characteristics as well, so we can combine everything to the core of the topic. Okay, so that why it is important, and here that from here onward that we have to discuss. So that so far we have discussed about the independence, and now we are going to discuss about the transparency and accountability. Okay, so let's go the points one by one. Okay, while many countries have granted their central banks more independence, the idea that central banks should be completely independent has come under criticism. That's I already wanted to emphasize on. When the central banks are going to be more independent, that level of independence is higher, which means that sometimes it can be criticized. Why? Because no one knows what the central bank is doing, whether it is doing good or bad to the society or the whole economy. Okay, so that is the point. When the level of independence is high, so definitely there should be the transparency and accountability, or otherwise that people cannot, there is no credibility then. Okay, when the central banks can do whatever they want without having any transparency or accountability. Accountability means the responsibility. They are not going to take the responsibility on what they are doing. Okay, then that if they are not doing the right thing, and even they are not going to take the responsibility of what they are doing, then there is a trouble. Okay, so that's why that the level of independency is high. Again, it can be criticized by the people if there is no transparency and accountability. That's how these characteristics are linked together. Okay, the criticism focuses on the danger that a central bank that is independent will not be accountable, and independent agency requires some mechanism to ensure accountability. So that's why always when that the functions of the central banks are independence, definitely there should be mechanism to ensure the accountability of their uh, work. So that is why what the idea. Although maintaining low and stable inflation is an important goal, we know that it is important goal. Okay, so it is not the only macroeconomic goal. It is that when it comes to the macroeconomic level, that inflation is only one aspect. Other than that, there are several other aspects are there. What are those? The GDP is there, the growth. Okay, so the growth is there. Level of employment of a country is also again a very important thing, and also the level of poverty, income equality. Likewise, that there are different aspects are there other than the inflation. Okay, So the monetary policy may have no long run effect on real economic variable. What are the real economic variables here? Again, that we can simply say that GDP growth and the employment. But it can affect the real economy in the short run. But that inflation is always facilitate those real economic variables. Okay, so I hope that you remember here. I think that in order to understand that this point, that you better remind the points that we discuss under the implications of the central bank's operation in the real economy. There was a separate topic that we discussed. Okay, anyhow, that I'm going to explain the overall idea to you again. Here it says that we know how what is the monetary policy is. That at the time that we discuss about the monetary policy, I clearly mentioned that how it is going to impact on the real economic activities. Okay, so that, and I mentioned that it is a demand management policy. Okay, hope you remember that the monetary policy is a demand management policy. So let me check with those. Okay, hope that you all can still see the presentation. So I have some points here that wanted to discuss with you under this topic. That's why. Okay, so that at that session that we discussed that monetary policy is a demand management policy. Okay, and also that how the monetary policy influence the demand or the aggregate demand by monetary policy. What the central bank is doing, central bank can control the money supply, the level of money, or the quantity of money in the economy, and also the cost of money, the interest rate. By changing these two aspects, what the central bank can do, that demand for money is changing. Okay, under the monetary policy that we discuss in detail, the sequence of activities. Okay, so that monetary policy is a demand management policy. So by conducting the monetary policy, central bank can influence the aggregate demand. Okay, so only the aggregate demand. Okay, but in the long run, we know that aggregate demand is only the one aspect of the real economic variables. There is another aspect, the supply side, but the supply side factors are beyond the control of the monetary policy. Okay, so that it is beyond the control of the central bank. So always that central bank is managing only one aspect relating to the overall real economic variables. So the supply side factors are beyond the control. Okay, so but anyhow, that central bank can create a stable economic environment. How? By maintaining the price stability. Okay, so when the price stability is there, or the stable economic environment is there, which means that people can create their expectation that it automatically happens, right? When the price stability is there, that people can have their expectation. Okay, so that they can predict the future, so that they can plan accordingly. And then those plans, they are going to execute those plans, or they implement their plans. So likewise, that they are going to work. Okay, they can be in overall that consumption decisions are there, investment decisions are there, production decisions are there. So likewise, they plan and implement those plans. So then only the real economy will grow. So likewise, that GDP increase, the employment level increase, investment, savings, these all macroeconomic variables are functioning based on what? That monetary policy framework, it ensures the stability, the price stability in the short run. So based on that, people do their activities. So those activities are give that impact to the real economy to grow. So you can understand what the central bank can do. It can facilitate the real economic activities only. How? By creating that conducive environment, the stable economic environment. So that central bank can manage only the aggregate demand by implementing the monetary policy, right? But it not guarantee that everything will happen in the long run, because that supply side factors are also there. Basically the level of productivity in overall, right? The overall idea is that level of productivity is also there. That's why we cannot, when the central bank is doing their duty great, that it will not guarantee that everything will be fine. So some other aspects are also there, especially that there should be some other policies are there, basically the fiscal policy, where increase the productivity. So then only that economy can go to the expected level or the stage of sustainable development or the growth, where that GDP growth is high, the employment rate is high, saving, investments, all the aspects are at expected level. So that people need to invest, right? So especially when it comes to the investments aspects, that it needs to have the ability to forecast the future. The forecast the future means what? That people need to forecast basically the future cash flow. That's what I'm explaining, how that the expectations and the plan that people are going to take based on the uh, stable environment. They can predict the future or the forecast the future, especially the cash flow, when the price stability is there, when there is so many fluctuations in the price uh, price. So that if there is a very highly fluctuations are there in the price levels, that they cannot do that, so that they are not willing to do investments. When there is no investments, that we cannot see that things are happening in the economy. So that's why the stable economic environment is the key point here. So that the conducive environment is that. So the fiscal policy, which is implemented by the government, by those policies, that they should encourage the overall productivity aspects. That can be training, research and development, different type of elements are there. So anyhow, right? When it comes to the pure central banking, this is what the idea. Okay, so that's what we can see here. So we discussed those points under that separate topic of how the central bank functions influence the real economic activities. Okay, so you better go and read it out, so that you will remember. Okay, so what it means is, so that's that what it is, where that here that that stable inflation is an important goal, but it can affect the real economy in the short run, but not in the real economic variable in the long run. Okay, so that because of that reason, reforms have often granted central bank instrument independence while preserving a role for the elected government in establishing the goal of policy and in monitoring the central bank's performance in achieving these goals. So here that you can see the term of instrument independence, which means that central bank, how the central bank monetary policies are going to be implemented, the mechanism of implementation. So when the central bank is going to instrument, right, or the operationalize those monetary policy decisions, that it needs to have that level of independence while preserving the role for the elected government in establishing the goal of policy and monitoring the central bank performance in achieving these goals. Okay, so that that is that transparency. When the central banks have that instrumental, means that central bank can do uh, what they expected to do. Okay, but at the same time, there should be a mechanism, especially for the elected government, to see what the policies are there implemented by the central banks. So that we can see in our Sri Lankan case also, so that we can see there is a mechanism in place. So that in the monetary board that I already mentioned, that there is a representative from the government the that Secretary to the Treasury is there, and also that time to time that I know that there are some other legal requirements are there for the central bank to report the government. The September in September that central bank is reporting what the policies that central bank is going to implement for the next period, and also by the annual report also that central bank is reporting to the government. Likewise, that we can see some regulations are there for the central bank to report, and there is a mechanism in place to see what the central bank is doing with respect to the monetary policy. And the central bank independence is essential, but it cannot be unconditional. So that what it is. We already discussed why it should be conditional. Okay, conditional means that there should be a way to report and be more transparent, and there should be some mechanism to not oversee the functions of the central bank, but to see what the central bank is doing. Okay, as an agent of the government, a central bank must be accountable in the pursuit of the mandated goals. So it is there that here the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is also act as an government of the government to the agent to the government. So must be accountable in pursuit of its mandated goal, responsive to the public and its elected representatives, and transparent in its policies. So likewise, that's why at the beginning of the year, that central bank always publicize the policies that expected policies to be implemented for the next period of time. Okay, so and also that central bank has to report the progress as well. When central bank is going to implement the monetary policy also, when central bank is going to change the monetary policy stance also, that we saw how the central bank is going to announce it to the public. And also I told you, I think that at the time that we discussed about the monetary policy, we saw that the press release is there, and also once that central bank is that in normal circumstances there are 8 during a year, the 8 times that central bank is announcing the monetary policy. So it can be not always that 8 times that it is not necessary to change the monetary policy. In case that central bank is going to change, that central bank at all the time that but central bank is going to publish the monetary policy decisions, and also conduct what it calls that press conference to reveal all the policy measures to the public through the media. Likewise, that reporting framework is there. So, and also that even you also can go and see the central bank website, whatever the policy decisions have been taken, that it is there by press release that central bank publish that policies, so that it is very clear. And the other thing is that's a transparency regarding monetary policy in particular not only help make central bank more accountable, it also increase the effectiveness of policy. So that why the central bank is publishing that monetary policy, not to be accountable only, but also it increases the effectiveness of the policy. How the monetary policy can be more effective, okay, by publishing it. Because why? That people should know what is the policies that has been taken by the central bank, and what could be the impact of it. And accordingly, as I discussed with you a while ago, that people are going to respond accordingly. when they are going to make their expectation based on that, what will happen in the future. It's always give kind of a sense for the people to hope that you all can hear me. There is a disturbance noise in the background. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so that some constructions are going on in this building, so that's why I'm sorry for that. Okay, so that we are here, so that's why. So that effectiveness of the monetary policy is based on how the people are going to respond to those policies. So in order to get that response, that central bank should uh, maintain that transparency. Okay, so that when they are going to aware the people about what the policies are taken, so that people will respond. Okay, so that then hope you remember the monetary policy, what it is, that how the monetary policy works, right? There are different channels that it going to be impact on the real economic activities, the real sector. So that it first impact on the monetary sector variables, then they are going to transform into the real sector variables, that these policies. Okay, so that in order to there is a lag effect always. So in order to make that process more effective, we need to aware the people. So that's why that transparency is not uh, uh, make sure that accountability is there, but also that it effectiveness of the policy as well. And the next point, clarity about the aims of future policy and about how the central bank likely would react under various economic circumstances reduces uncertainty. So the very uh, uh, I think that yeah, we can consider this the recent 6 months roadmap of the central bank. So I hope that you I hope that you may have heard about the 6 months roadmap for ensuring macroeconomic and financial system stability, presented by the newly appointed governor, Mr. Ajit Niwat Khabral, once we appointed as the new governor of the central bank, that he announced this new policy measures for the next 6 months, especially focus uh, on the external sector challenges that we are facing, but not only to because we know that the current issues that the countries encountered with, so that we know that we are at a very critical conditions with respect to the foreign exchange, because that we are facing that foreign exchange issue, and also that, as I said, that foreign external debt issue also there. So likewise, that already we had a roadmap for the year, but because of the special or the very unusual circumstances that we are facing as a result of all the consequences of the health pandemic, that we are facing very abnormal situation, right? So that's what it is. So various economic circumstances reduce uncertainty, so that because of these issues we are facing today, we know that most of the people that they had that uncertainty, that uncertainty is there, they all have that doubt what will happen. The basically before 2 months ago, there always that what we have to encounter the problem, because most of the people are asking what will happen to the country, whether we can import our goods, whether the fuel will be available in the next month. Likewise, that people they got panic because of different type of news are there, rumors are there. So that uncertainty, level of uncertainty always lead people to take ad hoc uh, uh, actions, because because there is no certainty, so that they don't know what to do. So especially the importers and exporters, so that there is always that they need to have that confidence that first what the policymakers should do, because the central bank, the apex institution of the country, basically the leader or the leading the monetary sector of the country, that always should give policy guidance, forward policy guidance to the economy. By giving those policy guidance, what is expected? To reduce the uncertainty and increase the level of confidence of the people. When that people believe that this will happen in the future, that they have that certainty, so that they can take their plans. Or otherwise that people will uh, act in a very ad hoc manner, so it will worse the case. So that what in really that we experience. Okay, but that's why it is really important, because that is a very special and very unexpected situation that the country is facing. So that by the original roadmap for the year is not sufficient to harass the issues. So because that at the later part of the year only, that issue got bigger. So that at that time, that the first thing in first place, like that that central bank had to publish this new roadmap for the next 6 months. Okay, so this is a very I think that very recent and very relevant example for this point, I think. So by that then now you can understand basically that people are always driven by the expectations, right? So that their activities based on the expectation, especially when it comes to the investment decisions and the production decisions. So it is there. So in order to maintain the stability, the first thing is that we need to reduce that level of uncertainty as well, that we need to give some policy guidance for all the stakeholders to work uh, towards one direction. Okay, so that's what it is. And the other thing is, when by the roadmap, if we have said something, that the next thing is that the central bank should do that, or otherwise that it will lose the credibility. That is another challenge there. Okay, so the last point here in this slide, the greater clarity and reduce uncertainty in turn increase the ability of policymakers to influence economic growth and inflation. So when by giving forward guidance policies to the economy, so it can reduce the uncertainty. In turn, what we can do, that as the policymakers, then only we can influence the economic growth and inflation. Okay, because that certainty is there then, so that confidence is there then the people will we can reduce the level of panic, so they will respond to the policy measures and all. So likewise, that policymakers can influence economic growth and inflation. Okay, that is the story. Okay, so okay, those there are some more points on the transparency and accountability. The central bank is credible if people believe it will do what it says. That credibility is that if you have said something that you have to do, so then only that credibility is there. Otherwise, that will fail. If in the world of uncertainty, it is essential for investors, householders, governments and other stakeholders to have sense of certainty about the future. That what I already explained to you. That central bank credibility is often identified with a strong aversion to inflation and its recommitments. What it means, that credibility means basically the key role of the central bank is to implement the monetary policy. So that what the central bank is doing, that at the beginning, that central bank announced that we are going to maintain the inflation at this much level. So in the case of Sri Lanka, it is that mid-single level, around 5%, right? So, but in other countries that we saw, below 2%, at 2%, around 2% likewise, that they have set their inflation goals like that. So when the central bank is announced that, right, that is what that we will do that, like that central bank is telling to the people. Okay, so then what to do? That central bank has to forecast the future inflations. That it is a routine process that central bank is doing, so that always that all the necessary informations are collected and forecasting the future inflations. So in case that central bank can see in the future that there can be fluctuations in the inflations, then only that central bank is going to take necessary measures by changing the uh, what that policy interest rates, or sometimes that open market operations are, it is actually that day-to-day operations, right? So that once central bank set the monetary policy stance in order to in order to facilitate that policy stance, that day on daily basis central bank is conducting the open market operations. I hope that you can have you have that overall understanding now how it works. So always what the central bank is doing, because central bank has been given the word to the people, right? We are going to maintain the inflation at this much, this level. So always that strong aversion means that always try to prevent from that inflationary situation. If there is any impact on inflation to be fluctuate, central bank takes necessary measures in advance. Okay, so because that's why that forecasting data is really, really important, right? So that inflation targeted monetary policy framework is there now. So always that forecast are really, really important. So that recommitments, what mean recommitments? That central bank needs to commit for that, and also if there is any fluctuations are there, again that they have to pre-commit and do that anyhow. So in case if there is any extra shocks, extraordinary shocks are there where that central bank cannot control it at all. Okay, but again central bank has to tell the people the truth that we haven't expect that much of extreme, but some countries that we can see in the crisis situation that they had to face. Okay, so that credibility is that if you have tell something that you have to do. Okay, having a credible central bank is essential in maintaining inflationary expectation. So you know that expectation is the matter for the real economic growth, right? So that people always react to the economic variables or the activities based on the expectation. When they think that in future that petrol prices will go high up, that today onward that they are starting to buy petrol. It is like that. So you can understand that it is very important. So that when it comes to that the inflation, that inflation to expectations of the people, how the people are expect on inflation, it is very, very essential thing. So that's why that now you can understand the level of the gravity of maintaining that accountability, okay, as well as in ensuring effective monetary policy transmission mechanism. Okay, so that central bank has to do that. That when only that credibility is there, the people always believe the central bank. So accordingly, that all the inflationary expectations will build up on the people, and also they will react accordingly with that expectations in their mind, so that the policy will work effectively. Okay, we already discussed that in detail. Central bank need to be accountable for their actions, right? Good governance call for central bank to be accountable, particularly when granted a high degree of autonomy. That when there is a high degree of autonomy, that good governance should be there. If there is no good governance, means that they are not accountable. That They are not going to take that responsibility. When that good governance is one of the key area in order to have that accountability. The concept of central bank accountability has three main features. So that let's see what are those. Decisions about the ultimate objectives of monetary policy, transparency of actual monetary policy, and who bears final responsibility with respect to the monetary policy. About the decisions, right? About the the objectives of the monetary policy. Okay, that is there. So the transparency of the actual monetary policy, first that they have to they have to decide on the ultimate objective of the monetary policy, the goal, set goal. Okay, and then the how actually that they are going to implement the monetary policy, and the last one is the impact, who is going to take the responsibility of the impact of that monetary policy. Okay, so in this sequence of actions are there. So in this all level of actions, that central bank has to have that responsibility. Better accountability imposes firmer discipline on decision makers. Better accountability imposes firmer discipline on decision makers, and it contributes to higher quality decision in central banks. So that always when that accountability is there, always if the central bank is going to take decision uh, with that responsibility in mind, always that decision is a good decision. Because why? Ultimately, that central bank knows the impact of that decision. Whatever the impact, the central bank is going to take the responsibility. So when that mindset is there, always that the central bank will take the good decisions, because if something bad happen, it is not good for the central bank's prestige. So that's how these characteristics are bound with all the good for the people. Okay, so that is the idea. Okay, that accountability should be there. Why? Then it again uh, influence for the central bank to take all the good decision. Good decision means that always that ad hoc, that central bank cannot make any decision in ad hoc manner. So in a very firm background only, central bank should take they take decisions with firm discipline. Means that always evaluate the impact in advance. If there is something bad could happen to the economy, that central bank is not going to take that decision, because that ultimately the responsibility is there. That central bank has to, that accountability should be there. So likewise, it impose firmer discipline on decision makers. Okay, the accountability requires transparency, and it also essential dialogue between policymakers, general public, and academics. So which means that always that we can see that in decision making bodies also, that time to time, that very recently also central bank established a new committee to can't remember exactly the name of the committee, but it is basically on the financial overall stability of the financial sector, so that we can see that in that committee the external sector representations are also there, from the private sector representations are also there. So likewise that transparency is there. So that because that accountability will ensure by that manner, where that what the central bank is doing, that everybody knows what the central bank is doing. So because of that activities of the central bank, what will happen, again people know this thing happened because of this policy. So that automatically that central bank has to have that responsibility. So that's why the transparency should be there. So now you can see the transparency and accountability, the link between that, how that these two characteristics are interlinked and helping each other to maintain those characteristics. Okay, so I hope that you can understand that. But that's why that when the independence is there, these characteristics should be there to maintain that level of independence, to make sure that central bank is always doing the best for the economy. Okay, so now I'm coming to the vision of the central bank, right? So this vision that you can see in the central bank official websites, that you can see the vision, that vision statement is there. The credible and dynamic central bank contributing to the prosperity of Sri Lanka. So the ultimate objective of all the given responsibilities of the central bank is to help the prosperity of Sri Lanka. That it is saying that contributing to the prosperity of Sri Lanka. That central bank per se cannot ensure the prosperity of Sri Lanka, because as I mentioned that there are so many other variables or the aspects are there in the economy beyond the control of the central bank. Central bank is actually uh, responsible on the monetary sector and the financial sector of the economy. But when it comes to the real ground or the real sector, that we know that there are many other aspects are there. So as I already mentioned, that central bank is responsible to create that conducive environment, economic and financial, that healthy or the sound economic and financial environment for the other activities of the economy. That's how that central bank is contributing to the prosperity of Sri Lanka. Okay, and the credible and dynamic, that credibility is there. That central bank credibility is often identified with a strong aversion of inflation and its recommitments. So that what I have already mentioned in the previous slide. Okay, that that credibility, for what the credibility, that central bank credibility, why that always that central bank has to maintain the strong aversion to inflation, means that central bank has to always maintain that price stability, and also central banks to commit for that in case that it is going to be changed. That commitment should be always there, the recommitment. Okay, that central bank is deeply committed to contributing the prosperity of Sri Lanka. So that this is kind of a expansion of this vision. The term prosperity has a wide connotation. It's an enhancement of the quality of life of people. So now you can see that prosperity, word of prosperity, it is a very wide thing. That wide, that so many elements are there. The very wide area is there. Enhancement of the quality of life of people. Quality of life of people means that definitely that poverty should be reduced, that income inequality should be there, education, health, everything, that employment, and that sometimes that we can see when it comes to the sustainable wealth creation and all, that environmental aspects as well are there, the social aspects are there. Okay, through sustainable wealth creation means that always that wealth creation should be sustainable, means that in the long term basis there should be a way that people can, that income generation sources should be there for the people to create their wealth on a sustainable manner in the long run. Okay, and inclusion of all segments of the society in enjoying the benefits of development, that more inclusive growth, sustainable and inclusive. Inclusive means there is no one is excluded from that benefits. The all are going to be benefit at equal level, that it is the inclusion. The central bank would facilitate this process by ensuring economic and price stability and financial system stability while providing prudential and proactive policy recommendation. So by conducting those policies, as I mentioned, that central bank is always creating that conducive environment. How? That they have to take all the prudential policy measures. Prudential means that, as I told you, because that accountability is there, so always that they have to take almost all the best decisions to reduce the what that bad impacts, and also those policy decisions should be proactive. which means that we cannot wait until the inflation to be there to take actions. That's why central bank is forecast the future inflation, and in advance that central bank has to uh, take the necessary policy measures by changing monetary policy stance. Daily basis that central bank is conducting the open market operations to take the the interest, the short-term interest rate into the correct path. Likewise, that it should be always proactive policy recommendations. The central bank cannot wait until the things happen, because you know that almost all type of monetary policy that actions, that there is a lag effect. So when that at the time that we discuss about the monetary policies, that we discuss how the transmission mechanism will happen. So if you know that in order to transfer these policies to the real level or the real sector, that will take some time. So if central bank be late to take decisions, the impact, that in order to have the impact, it will take long time. So that things will happen. So that it is not going to be work in the way. So that's why that proactive policy recommendations are there. As the advisor to the government on economic affairs, so that sometimes that with respect to that monetary and financial sectors, that always that central bank is act as the advisor to the government as well. So likewise that here that one thing I have to mention, that before the you know that the next budget is coming, right? So that before the budget of the government, that central bank has to, it is a mandatory requirement for the central bank to provide a very comprehensive report to the government to describe the overall economic and financial aspects of the country, and also what should be the prudent measures to be taken by the central bank and the government, and also giving some more recommendations, or those are the proactive policy recommendations which are given by the central bank to the government in advance as the advisor of the government. So likewise, it is a mandatory requirement that central bank is doing that. In doing so, the bank would act with the highest degree of integrity and professionalism, earning respect for its objectivity and apolitical stance. So that you can understand what means the political stance, that the central bank policy decisions are not going to be influenced by any politics. So that's why that independence, that means that indirectly it says that the all the activities of the central bank that is going to be independent because of that integrity and the professionalism. All the people are the employers, the central banks are the work in with the integrity and professionalism. So that the always that central bank work towards that objectives given, not be influenced by any other facts. Okay, so that is what the vision of the central bank says. And also in addition to that, some that values are there. So these are the mandatory things for all the activities, and also for the employees of the central bank. They have to tally with these values, that to comply with this value. Commitment to inspirational leadership, providing that that the values are there, also that underlying facts is also there. So the commitment to inspirational leadership, providing a strategic leadership to the financial sector. Transparency in what we do, we already discussed about that. Being ready to explain the rationale behind the actions. So always that, as I told you, when the central bank is publishing the monetary policy, that you can see the press release. So it always describes, if the central banks change the monetary policy stance, that clearly mention what are the rationale behind that action. Okay, it is there. And also when the central bank is make any regulations, that central bank publish it, and also why the central bank has to take these measures, and also what will be the consequences or the expected outcome of the such action is also mentioned in that press release. You can see that's how that central bank is maintaining the transparency, accountability to the stakeholders to whom that central bank is responsible for the public, government, financial institutions, and employees. They are the key stakeholders of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. So these values are particularly for the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, right? But when we discuss about the other central banks also, that we can see the similar type of values are there for their day-to-day functions as well. And you can see these all values are again linked back to the transparency and the accountability and all, right? So that under the accountability to the key stakeholders, take responsibilities for the people, advice and actions. Okay, taking responsibility for all the advisors, policy advisors, and the actions taken by that. If the central bank is going to give any policy advice to the government, or in case that central bank is to implement any policy actions, that central bank is taking the responsibility of that advice or the action. Integrity means trust, dependability, honesty, matching words with deeds by discharging function ethically in the best interest of the stakeholders. That some ethics are there for all the employees of the central bank. There are code of conduct is there, that rule of ethics are there. So that almost all the functions of the central bank are subject to those code of conduct or the ethics. Okay, the commitment to professional competence, dedication, quality, and excellence in all we do. That is there. Commitment to lifelong learning, knowledge sharing, and innovation. So that is there. So one of the value to always that increase the capacity of the workforce of the central bank. And then the consistency, accuracy, and timelines of all actions taken by the central bank. When you go to the roadmap also, you can see there are set timelines for most of the key actions of the central bank, so that always central bank has to dedicate for these deadlines. So that it is very rarely we can see that central bank cannot meet such a national level dedications. That when the central bank that as I told you that there are mandatory requirement for the central banks to give some policy advices to the government, and also to take actions time to time. So always that there is a preset timetable, or the timelines are there. Every year, even central bank is announcing that when that, even you can see that when you go to the press release relating to the monetary policy, that central bank mentioned the when is the next press release will be there, means that when the central bank is going to take the monetary policy decision the first time. Likewise, that always it is that set things are there. Under normal circumstances, central bank always proceed according to the preset timeline targets. But in some conditions, that central bank has to go beyond that. Sometimes that, as I told you, sometimes that some extraordinary measures central bank has to take, so that we can see other than that set timelines or the set objectives. Sometimes some other actions are also can be there. And the next thing is managing and ensuring operational autonomy for policy formulation and implementation, providing the organizational freedom for objective decisions. At the time that we discuss about the operational structure of the central bank, that we all see that how these separate aspects have been given to the different department of the central banks. And also we saw that how that decisions are being made by these departments and also how they are reporting to the top management or the top level, the board, monetary board, and how those decisions are going to be ratified by the top level, the monetary board. So likewise, how these policy formulations and the implementation process is happening. So always that there is a very managed system is there to ensure the operational autonomy. So it is there. Urgent and continuous commitment to results and output, bringing a sense of urgency and timeline into all our actions. So likewise, that it is that almost all the policy decisions should be proactive decisions. So that's why that most of the most decisions that they have to take and implement in urgent basis, especially in a environment like this current health pandemic and all that right decision at right time, it should be there. Commitment to collaborative and participatory work practices, building positive team relationship with the banks so as to ensure the maximum level of cooperation and team spirit. That is there. At the time we discuss about the clusters, different clusters, or at the time that we discuss about the operational structure of the central bank, that you saw that there are key 4 clusters are there, so that these clusters are aiming to one type of overall objective. So all these departments to work as a team. So ultimately that almost all the departments, not in the cluster, but almost all the departments are also have to work in some extent as a team to deliver the given responsibilities. So likewise, that we can see that this is the story of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, but this principle is not that these principles are not limited to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, but overall all the central banks around the world, that we can see they have their set of values in order to meet the given responsibilities, because that the responsibilities are so specific and unique for the central banks. So that's why that's for some extent that we can see, even though the different level of maybe government or the political influences are there, but yet that autonomy is there for the central bank with respect to the especially for the with respect to the monetary and the financial aspects of a country. So that's why these values are really, really important, or otherwise that central bank cannot maintain that the characteristic of transparency and the accountability. Okay, so yeah, this is the last slide. Okay, as a result of crisis, countries around the world are implementing significant financial and regulatory reforms. So with the current health pandemic also, that here the crisis means actually it means that financial crisis in 2008-9. Before that also that we saw there are different type of crises where they are around the world, but the latest example is that health pandemic. So that we can see that countries around the world are implementing significant financial and regulatory reforms. So who are doing that? By the central banks, right? Apart from traditional monetary policy, central bank responsible to financial crisis has involved a range of new policy measures about which they have to provided extensive information. Here, what it is that when they are practicing the traditional monetary policy, that framework is in place. But what we can observe recently, not because of the health pandemic, but also that before that in 2002, 2008 and 9, because of the financial crisis also, that we see that especially the Fed Reserve System, and then also that because of that crisis in the euro area, so that those central banks, that they had to make some extraordinary policy measures other than their traditional policy monetary policy measures. So at that time since they are going to practice some new policies, so they have to provide more information to the public, because that it is not the regular thing that they are, the usual thing that they are doing, because they are doing something new, so that they have to always give some extensive information, means why they have to do that, what would be the consequences, right? And also after sometimes that they have to prove that their policy measures had been work, or what is the impact. So likewise that otherwise that they cannot maintain the that they cannot maintain the credibility. In order to be more transparent and accountability, when they are going to go beyond their traditional policy measures, always that additional workload is there for the central banks, because that they have to give more information to the people to be more credible, or otherwise that people are not going to be response to those new policies or the measures, that they are not going to believe the central bank. So that central bank always have to convince the people why this new policy measures to be taken in this special environment, with the hope of this. Okay, so the impact. And as central banks move along the path of reform, however, it is crucial to maintain the ability of central banks to make monetary policy independently of short-term political influence. So that is there, the political influence, that it is not limited to Sri Lanka. It is a very worldwide phenomena that we can see always, that political influence on monetary policy measures are there, and there can be some short-term implications as well because of that. So it is that it is crucial to maintain the ability, that it is very difficult to maintain the ability of the central bank to be independent at that level because of that political influences. So that you can see that how it is challenging. In exchange for this independence, central bank must meet responsibilities for transparency and accountability, and need continue to work to facilitate public understanding of both the monetary policy decisions and the actions to ensure some soundness of financial system. So that's why it says that exchange for this independency. So that you know that that when there is more political influence, that that there is no independence. When the independence level is also high, it is also kind of a additional responsibility for the central banks to be more transparent and accountable. Okay, so that's why they have to have that responsibilities for the transparency and accountability, and by doing so that they can maintain the credibility by that maintaining that level of understanding among the people, not only on about the monetary policy decisions, but also the other policies, and also that they have to always to maintain the confidence of the level of confidence of the people on the soundness of the financial system as well. At the time that we discuss about the financial system of stability, I told you when there is no trust among people on the financial system, how it will impact on the economy. When there is no trust, that they are not going to save, instead that they are going to withdraw from the financial system, so that the system will collapse. So at that time I described how the trust of people on the soundness of the financial system is important. So that's why always that central bank has to maintain that credibility by being transparent and accountable. Okay, so that's what we wanted to discuss under this topic. So yes, and yeah, are you all there with me? So any problem up to now? Yes. Yeah, it is. One said that Monetary Policy Consultative Committee is the new committee. Okay, so any problem so that we need to that you have to discuss on this topic or on the other topics as well. So I'm telling you again that please refer to the new materials that have been shared with you by the IBSL. So sometimes that you may seen some the two materials for the same topic like, so that you better refer to the latest material uploaded by the IBSL. So in that way that you can have the updated materials. Okay, so any more thing to know? Or otherwise, as I told that we have done with the topic, that we can conclude the session early. And this is the last session, and there are some, probably there will be 3 sessions for the revisions. Have you already got any information about the revision sessions, the confirmed dates and all?
Yes, madam.
Right. Okay. I mean, sometimes for this subject, you may have got the dates at 18, 19 or something, but I have requested for them to change the date. So probably they will change the date. So what about the weekdays in the evening from 6 to 8 like? Is that possibility to make it?
Not possible, madam.
Is that so? Okay. Anyhow, that we have to go for the weekends. Is that so?
That's better, I think.
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay, let's see the way that how I can make it, because some other sessions are also there. So that it is the most difficult part, because they have already said, but I'm not sure whether I can make it on the dates that they have set. So I've requested them to change the dates, but let's see. Anyhow, they will inform you the dates in advance. So in the revision sessions that we are going to discuss about uh, I hope that we can cover all the sessions again, but align with the past papers, that how the questions has raised in the past papers, so that we are going to discuss the answers for the past papers, the basic structure of the revision session that I'm explaining to you. And also in addition to that, what we can see in the past papers, that always they ask about some the recent policy measures have been taken by the central bank. So in that case, we have to go through all the policies uh, relevant to the pandemic issue, and also this the current foreign exchange issue, so that we are going to discuss about the recent policy measures. And also that we have to discuss about some the measures taken by other leading central banks also. Let's see the way that the questions have been designed in the past papers, so that the revision sessions are going to be aligned with that. Okay, so that you can easily prepare for the exam. So
Excuse
that,
me, madam.
yes,
Do we want to fully go through the Monetary Law Act, all articles? There's a booklet, I think.
monetary policy, you mean?
Monetary Law Act.
No. I don't think so. For this subject, no. No. No, normally I didn't see that, even that you have been asked to say what is the close number and all that. That almost that all the important points that we have discussed in the class, when we go through the past papers, we'll see if they have asked any type of clauses or. But I don't think that you need to follow the Monetary Law Act, but in the topics that we highlight, some of the points given in the requirements given in the monetary policy. If you have time, that it is better, you can go through, but it is not a mandatory requirement for you all to go through it. But if you have time, that you better go and see the monetary policy. And recently also that we amended the Monetary Law Act. So likewise that you can see some other relevant that I think that Banking Act is amending, so that there are several amendments are also there. But I don't think so that you need to go through it. It is not a mandatory requirement, but it depends. If you really like to know more, that yeah, you have the freedom. Okay,
Thank you,
so
madam.
okay, so any more questions? Okay, so if you don't have any more questions, so that we can wind up. So thank you so much again for everyone. So let's meet again in the revision sessions. So as I told you, the IBSL will inform you in advance the dates for the revisions. Okay, probably we will have 3 sessions. So, but it depends. Sometimes that it may be short sessions, or and then that we have to take more sessions, more than 3 sessions likewise. Okay, thank you so much then. Okay, bye.